you tell us a little about how girls get it done?
Girls get it done.
Girls get it done.
Girls get it done.
Girls get it done.
I said you nasty bitch! Bitch!
Girls do get it done.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Afternoon Tune. I am your host, Josh, and with me is my co-host.
It's your boy, Chase.
And it is your boy, Nick.
The Boys, season finale.
The Boys.
Yeah, a lot happened in this episode. Great season finale. Anybody want to take it off? Discuss it? Or you want me to go ahead?
We could just take it, like, if you want, beat by beat. There's a lot to talk about and unpack with every scene, pretty much.
Okay. So, a lot of the episode discusses the start of it, where we see kind of takes kind of right after where we see the scene of them in the last episode when they were watching the whole C-SPAN trial and on C-SPAN and everything like that, and the heads exploding.
What the fuck do we do now?
And it kind of follows right after that, and then finally they just kind of go like, you know what? In this episode, Butcher and the gang just kind of, you know what? Just fuck it. I mean, like we've tried to do it the right way. We tried to go through all the proper channels, do the right thing, and where this gotten us, it's just it's us chasing the fucking coyote. It's us chasing the wild coyote every single.
That was my favorite moment in the trailer. Is like Huey is saying, "Hey, we can't solve this by killing all of them," and Kamiko just walks by with an RPG, and you can feel, not with that attitude, we can't.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, they're just finally done with it. I mean, they're just gonna find it's like, hey, we tried to go through all the proper channels, none of it's worked. Mm-hmm. Like we're just gonna kill them. I mean, it's just that it's just that simple.
All you need is an AR-15 and meep. No more.
Just light them up.
Yeah.
See what happens.
See
how durable they really are.
Yeah. And while this is happening, you see Rebecca, who's come to Butcher because you saw in the last episode they took Ryan, and they're holding them, and then she's going to him for help. And it's also the time the gang gets to meet Rebecca. They've never met her before, and they're just kind of just enthralled with her and just kind of fawning all over. It's like, oh, you're the person Butcher likes. You know what I mean? That's in love with, like, that's just funny to see. You know what I mean? And
I was like, you're the reason that we've been doing all this shit.
Fuck off, you little.
I thought that was a pretty funny scene. The show, I mean, always continues to do a really good job blending, serious moments with funny moments. It's what Eric Kripke, I mean, he's done just such a great job, I think, showrunning the show. Seeing him when he did Supernatural, like, that was always like a real thing I loved about Supernatural, like how funny that show could be, blending kind of the drama and the elements of that show, and see him come on and do this is really, really good. And I really like his abilities quite a bit with this show. And with you see him talking to Becca about trying to go get Ryan. He sets up a deal with Stan Edgar, and with that was very interesting. That, I mean, he would even meet with him in the first place, and like how he would even have his information.
That was my favorite scene.
Yeah, it was a good scene. Yeah.
Well, not my favorite scene out of the whole episode, but like one of my favorite scenes, just to see how Edgar thinks. Because I mean, we kind of had the idea that he was like a sleazy businessman, but I love the few moments of humanity that he gives out when Butcher's pressing him about Stormfront. He's like, you should look yourself in the mirror because that bitch does not like you. And he's like, oh yeah, I know she's racist. But I'm using this to meet an end. And we'll cross the bridge of getting rid of her when we need to.
I mean, because I know you've constantly talked about when we've discussed multiple episodes, just about how, like, you would want to see a scene between him and her, and what that would be like, and what does he think of her. And there was a lot of that episode, like there was Stormfront talking about him and saying like, well, he is smart. I mean, especially for, if you count his kind, yeah, he is kind of smart, and that scene between Butcher and Edgar, you see that he's like, yeah, it's a means to an end. I mean, my job is to sell as much Compound V as I possibly can. I mean, that's my job. And Stormfront, and her whole thing is like, she, inspires anger. Anger gets people scared, and then all that leads into people wanting to get all this Compound V, and I'm doing my job. So it's all about the business. And, like you said, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. And, as he says, which kind of even resonates with Butcher, as he says, like, well, hey, listen, I'm a minority here. You know what I mean? I don't have the luxury of, lashing out with anger as maybe you would do, because I'm not you. I'm not a white guy. So I don't have that luxury, you know what I mean, to do those things. I have to play the game and be the best at it and be the most ruthless at it. Which I think really resonated with Butcher. But that whole scene, it just like, him being as smart a guy as he is, I'm like, okay, you say, maybe he had some contingency plans in place, but being as smart of a guy as he is, you would think like he would realize like, okay, well, the people that Stormfront likes more than anybody else, and like what she's going to be trying to do if she has this whole army of people that are following her. So, don't you think that, like, didn't he think that'd be very dangerous, you know what I mean, to have all these, armed white supremacists walking around? You would think that's kind of very, very, very short-sighted in a way, like to start like this huge war,
So I think he always had a contingency plan for her, and I think that plan was kind of revealed at the end, because you find out that he's basically manipulating both sides, and when he's playing both sides, you could just have an endless conflict and continue to profit off of it. So that's what I think his thing is.
Okay, Nick, what?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like most of what Edgar does, it's in the interest of making a profit. Sometimes you got to play a little dirty to get paid, and I think that's what he's doing. He's allying himself with a Nazi purely for profit.
So like I said, maybe he did maybe have that idea that like he always had he had a plan for Stormfront, and he was gonna come out on top no matter what.
And you get the feeling like there's a little closer relationship between him and the guy running the Church of the Collective, who's been collecting dirt on every suit.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling like when Edgar needs someone gone, he goes to him, because there's definitely hints that they've had a prior relationship.
Yeah.
Or he goes to his friendly neighborhood congressman.
Yeah, which we'll get into that later on. But that leads into another point you mentioned, the Church of Collective. So Edgar goes to meet with the leader of the Church of Collective, offers him a Fresca. He says, "Nah, that shit's fucking terrible. Get the shit out of my Fresca." Yeah, it is. You know what I mean? Like, that shit's terrible. Which seemed like the guy took offense to that. He was just like, "Oh man, that kind of hurt his feelings." He was like, "Man, I like Fresca." So they're sitting around, they're discussing who to bring back into the Seven. So it looks like the Church Collective was good on their promise of trying to bring back them into the Seven, which I kind of thought was bullshit. I just thought they would just, they were still using them for money and everything like that, especially the Deep. You know what I mean? Because he signed over his whole bank account to them. You know what I mean? And everything. So, but, it seems like they were trying to make good on their promise of trying to get them back into the Seven. And they mentioned that, they're trying to work out a deal. They're like, okay, well, we can get the Deep back in, but we can't get A-Train back in. And we know why A-Train can't come back. We know why his ass can't come back. And this whole time, unbeknownst to them, is that A-Train is sitting there listening and hearing the conversation. between the two of them, striking a deal saying that, okay, well, we'll leave out A-Train, but we'll bring back the Deep, because one has been coming back, that's redemption, but two, it just seems desperation. That just seems like, looks like weakness. So he hears that and gathers up this information that he overheard in the meeting about Stormfront, that heard like them having these files about her, and then he goes and gets those files and delivers them to Huey and to Starlight.
You know what the craziest thing about that scene was, though?
What?
So if you notice the napkin kind of flutter,
yeah,
that's supposed to be A-Train running by.
Yeah.
And at first I was just like, he might be one of the slowest speedsters. He has a heart problem too, but damn, he flew by that waiter without even breaking him into pieces. And then was able to get into the door and make it seem like he wasn't even there. Like, you didn't hear the door creak or nothing.
Yeah.
That dude is fast.
That was a really nice scene. The way they did it, the napkin, you saw that it moved, you saw this kind of brush of wind. That was a pretty nice scene, the way they did that, to know okay, well, somebody's in the room else, overhearing. And he delivered this information to Huey and Starlight, because
Fuck that Nazi bitch.
They're looking for information themselves about Starlight, because they're like, okay, before we
Stormfront.
Stormfront. It's like, okay, because they are trying to calm the boys down. They're like, okay, before we just go off guns blazing, let's just try at least one more thing, before we start doing that. Starlight goes to Queen Maeve to try to ask her for help, and Queen Maeve is just she's still kind of just smoking, drinking. And I like how everybody just addresses Huey just as just this complete weakling. They can just sense it. They can just sense oh my god, this dude is just soft. This boy is a goddamn, he's a Twinkie. A twink. He's just pure, just soft. You know what I mean? He just
called him a twink.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Yeah, it's just everybody can just sense it. It's just amazing.
He gets called a twink, cuck fluffer.
God damn.
Huey gets the worst roast of the season.
So she goes to her for help, and she's just too broken down and just depressed to do anything, because she's just nothing changes. You know what I mean? Because Starlight asked her to testify. It's okay, that's just suicide. I mean, you already saw what happened already when somebody tried to testify. What do you think is going to happen when I try to testify? I mean, it's just complete suicide. And she tells him to fuck off. And luckily, just good information falls in the lap, because A-Train delivers him with all this information.
My bad. So before we go on to A-Train, I wanted to ask about, so my slightest critique about Maeve's character in this episode was that we didn't get to see her change of heart until she just popped in. I guess you could argue that maybe because when she was looking at Stormfront, when she was walking by, you could say that, maybe that's when the ideas were hatching. But I felt like we could have been served a scene where she was having a change of heart to some degree. But yeah, keep going.
What do you think about that point, Nick?
Let's see. I'd agree with you that that her change of heart feels sudden for this episode, but it was also kind of being set up throughout the season.
How so?
Well, I think with Maeve trying to gather dirt on Homelander, going back to the wreckage of the plane, trying to figure out what's going on, figure out how to get Homelander off her back. I feel like that was the real turning point for her.
I was just saying, I wish there was a scene, or even just a look or a moment where you could see that the gears were turning, that she was going to go through with what she went through. But still, regardless, everything she did was satisfying. Regardless, that's just my personal little nitpick, because there's really nothing else wrong with this episode.
I see your point a little bit, but I'll follow up on that point in a little bit.
Everything else is amazing.
And then, so while they're disappointed that Queen Maeve rejected their offer, they're riding around. A-Train shows up and delivers them information that basically just lays it all out. That Stormfront's a Nazi, and she's basically over 100 years old, and she's got all this information, this huge file on her, and they just basically just get delivered a gift. And also with another really great line in this episode, A-Train just simply says, "Fuck that Nazi bitch," and just speeds away. You know what I mean? Like, one of the great lines of this episode. And then as it follows up after that, you see that them delivering the information to the boys, them going over it, them sending out all the information. What did you all think about the scenes with Homelander and his son? Like, did you think that was like genuinely him, being a good father, trying to, maybe he was trying to be good at it or being genuine? I mean, what did you all think about those scenes?
I think he was actually trying. Like, I could, especially when he rushes over to Ryan to see if he's okay, and he guides him out, and then he tells him the story that he had a similar situation. That's a Homelander that we haven't seen before. He's not the type of dude. He's a macho man. He's not the type of dude to admit that he may have cried before, that there was a moment where he was scared. So to see that play out and him try to connect with Ryan, I thought that was like wholesome. That's about as wholesome as this show has ever gotten, to be honest with you. Made me almost forget that he was a sick psychopath.
Yep, you almost forget, and then the scene with the Vought Securities team happens. And then
and
you're
you
reminded,
are very quickly,
oh.
very quickly reminded.
Because you see, like, Ryan is at the Vought facility, and Ashley's trying to take care of him, and her hair is falling out because she's under so much stress, basically. And
Can you blame her?
No, I mean, she's probably scared every single day of her life, especially after, going through a terrorist incident, basically, you know what I mean? Like, she's probably scared, has severe PTSD. She's already got PTSD from just being with Homelander, period, you know what I mean? Yeah. But then a terrorist incident happened on top of that, so that probably even gives her an extra amount of stress, so her hair is falling out and everything. So she's trying to spend time with Ryan, and but he's all cooped up here, and this seems like, okay, well, hey, we'll go and take you out, and everything like that. Take him to a restaurant, Planet Vought. It's just amazing how this company, it's almost kind of treated like, in a way, like F Society is treated like in Mr. Robot. Like, they're just in every kind of facet of life, just like restaurants and technology, movies, television. It's just like every facet of life it's just basically a part of. They got their hands in everything. Terrorism. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like every way they can possibly make money, they're making it. You know what I mean? It's just amazing. And they go there, Planet Vought. This restaurant for basically all the heroes. And you see, like, and it goes to what Becca said about Ryan, of like, hey, you bring him out into the real world with all these people, it's just going to be very scary and very confusing for him, and you see that, him being surrounded by all these people who want to take pictures with Homelander and Stormfront and do all these things. You just kind of see how overwhelming that is. And so he basically takes him, Homelander does, to the cabin that is that the same cabin that he was with Doppelganger in?
Yes, it was. Do you think he washed the sheets?
I hope he did
before they sat.
Jesus, I hope he did.
I think there might be some milk stains here.
You know what I mean? To that same cabin. And he's trying to tell him about, which is kind of like intimate moment, trying to tell him about hey, when I was your age, I was scared too. You know what I mean? I even cried. I mean, I didn't cry that much though, because I'm a man. I cried like once or twice. You know what I mean? But so you see that, and like I said, there's some those are some kind of good moments that kind of does humanize Homelander a bit, and it goes to just the testament to how good Anthony Starr is in this show. Of because I really think he should maybe get some Emmy consideration. Just what
easily he should win, honestly.
Just
yes, he should win.
Because just what he's able to do with the character.
Yeah, he's been acting his ass off for 2 straight seasons. Every episode he delivers in every scene, and he commands our attention in every scene.
Yeah. I mean, it's very impressive. How he's able to just make you feel, all these different type of emotions watching his character, and the presence he has on screen is very impressive. And I want to talk about a scene that came up, with it, of them basically trying to teach Ryan more his powers, trying to use his laser vision, and and Stormfront trying to help him get there using his powers, trying to help him get angry so he could use it, and saying we're under attack and this white genocide. Homelander kind of made a face like, what the fuck are you talking about? Which kind of I didn't understand. I'm like, bro, I don't understand what you thought this was. I don't understand. Can you help me understand that a little bit? Like, why he was so shocked by, kind of seemed like he was shocked by what she said.
I don't think he was shocked. He was just more so annoyed. Because I feel like, and I'm not trying to say I called it, but I never thought that Homelander was on board with the whole Nazi shit. I just thought he was getting his ego fed by somebody that he could have very nice sex with. That's kind of all this is. So, I mean, even if you go back to the initial speech that Stormfront made to him, he doesn't really turn around and think about it actually working until she says, "You are the lead, the one that will lead us." He doesn't really care about any of that shit, and I feel like that showed. That wasn't the only moment where Stormfront said something and he was just like, "Yo, what the fuck is this bitch talking?" I also noticed that with when she was talking about how she can't wait to leave all the movie business and all the charade of being a hero behind. He was just like, this is what I do it for, So I never thought that he was on board. I just thought that he just wanted his ego fed by a woman that he could get tossed around with. He was just big simping.
Yeah. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Chase. I don't think he was really on board with all the Nazi stuff. He just wanted his ego. He just wanted to feed his ego with a woman that, he could, have sex with without worrying about breaking. Which, honestly, he wouldn't even care about that either.
Okay. I guess I maybe see your point, but it's just do you not know anything about Nazis or kind of what they stand for or what they believe in? Or, I mean, that's kind of the whole deal here, man. I mean, you know what I mean? I was just kind of why are you looking surprised? It's kind of their whole thing.
I felt like their relationship, if it wasn't going to end with this episode, it was going to end by his hands sooner or later.
So I mean, maybe I get the sense maybe you said he was just maybe annoyed, maybe because he's trying to help his son. But I don't know. I mean, he did ask. I mean, she was better with him getting Ryan to do things than Homelander was in some instances. You know what I mean? She was better at encouraging him and everything, because she's actually had a kid before.
I think there were moments that you could tell that she was that her connection with Ryan wasn't gonna work, when she initially suggested them go to Planet Vought, which is somewhere that I think even Homelander would have known better than to bring Ryan to.
Because it's a super tourist kind of, a lot of people are gonna be there, instead of some more private place. But so the boys, in the midst of while this is all going on, the boys are gonna lead a rescue mission to go get Ryan back. You know, and I don't, you know, and Becca, you know, she really wants to come, obviously, because she's the mother, and she wants to be there when you know they get him back, which complicates things for Butcher because he's the one that cut a deal with Edgar, saying that, okay, well, hey, if I can definitely get the kid, I can definitely retrieve him, and you know what I like also with the show is because you think like these normal people going up against these superpowered people who are so clearly outmatched. You do see kind of how these people the boys really rely on their wits, right? And their skill and talent of being able to, you know, evade them and kind of distract them and kind of work around them in a lot of instances. You see how well they kind of work together as a team, because the whole move they use to kind of get Stormfront away from the cabin and Homeland away from the cabin is like one they just take photos of the documents they got from A-Train, release them all into the internet, send them all to the news stations, everything like that, and basically blast that out. And then her phone is just getting all blown up, and she's like, "What the fuck?" You know,
found her old tweets.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, you know,
Stormfront is over. Party.
Yeah, Stormfront canceled. Stormfront. You know.
Already an intense international outcry has emerged. I can't believe I actually have to say this day and age, but Nazis are bad.
And she just flies away. They set up these, you know, all these speakers and play this blaring noise. They know that's gonna be triggering to Homelander, so that's gonna send him away. So I really like how they kind of use these kind of things to, you know, basically draw him away and draw the superheroes away in the way they fight them. You know what I mean? Which is very, very creative. I like that quite a bit. And so when they go and they get Ryan from the cabin, it is a nice scene to see, like, because Becca beforehand asks him to make a promise that you will, you know, do his best here, and to swear on his brother's soul, Lenny's soul, his brother, his dearly departed brother. And she also does mention Huey as well, being a good influence on him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, multiple people have said that throughout the show. Mother's Milk, Butcher's aunt, said that. You know what I mean? Like he's just that positive influence in his life.
His canary.
Yeah, and we'll see if that continues season 3, because, you know, there's a little bit of a cliffhanger about you know, him maybe moving on from that. What did you all think about the whole kind of rescue mission and you know, like what went on with that of getting around? What do you all think about that?
It was tense. I loved it a lot. You know, the thing that I feel like the showrunners did so well with hyping up this episode was the image of a soaked in blood Homelander. So I was just tensed by that image because I know it was coming, and I was just like, oh my god, this is somebody, are they actually gonna kill one of the boys? You know, throughout the whole thing I was just thinking that. But I love the ingenuity of the boys, and this is part of the reason why I always would say watch the show. You could save the comics for later, because in the comics they're not this clever. They're clever, but they're not this clever, you know? And because of a certain liquid substance that they consume in the comics that they don't consume here, they are more fragile and they're more believably at risk. And I feel like that just heightens the tension of it to a certain degree that the comics didn't have.
There's genuine tension over here because you know how, well, fragile the boys really are. There's never a feeling where you can breathe whenever they're going up against the Supes. Unlike in the comic where they've all taken Compound B, they all have powers of their own. So
you're just gonna say it?
Hey, the show isn't going with the comics, so
so fuck it.
Yeah, so So the comics like really aren't as interesting as they are in the show because, yeah, like you said, they have to use their wits, they have to use their brains instead of going, tit for tat with the soups.
Yeah, I think that makes it a lot better them doing, because I haven't read the comics. I think YouTube said that basically, I mean, the show is better than the comics, right? I mean, it's basically
it is.
Yeah.
It's better done than the comics. So yeah, it adds a lot more tension, I think, for the people, like them just being regular people, and I think it adds a lot more creativity maybe for the writers to come up with scenarios and how they kind of can avoid, just being straight up just killed by the heroes in a way, which I think is pretty nice. But it leads basically to the climax of the episode, which was a very, very fun climax, I must say. And I think that it definitely is a season finale that was better than maybe the first season finale. Would you guys say that?
It's hard for me to say because the image of the image and the sound of Sleepwalk playing as Butcher looks at his wife that he thought was dead and her child is still a very strong image in my head. But I do think that this finale matches that intensity and matches the level of writing, dude. It's insane. There's so many things paid off in this episode that was established in this season too.
Absolutely, because girls
get it done.
Girls get it done.
Oh, girls get it done.
Girls get it done.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga! Fight back! Fight back!
Girls do get it done.
One of the best fucking payoffs to what was originally just like corporate satire and paid off so beautifully.
And on the perfect villain to do it to.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Beat the shit out of a Nazi in your show, I am instantly gonna be in love with it.
Oh yeah. And I think my favorite thing about that is that at the beginning, it's actually Stormfront who says "Girls get it done" in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
so I think that's hilarious that is thrown at her head. What's the word? What's the phrase I'm looking for?
How
it's
the
flipped on her head.
Tables.
Yeah, how the turntables.
Because you see, like when they're trying to do a getaway, Stormfront confronts them, and they're basically they're gonna fight her, and Kamiko, you see it before, she's kind of nervous because you see previous episodes, she's kind of frozen up when she's met Stormfront and kind of didn't really know what to do. But in this one, she's ready, you know what I mean? She's actually even laughing when she meets her, you know what I mean? And she's ready to fight, and then Starlight's ready to fight, and it's the two of them versus her. And at first, they're doing a kind of okay job, but then you see Stormfront's doing a good job fighting them back. Then it's like from the top rope, Queen Maeve comes, you know what I mean, like some WWE shit, And yeah, I mean, she comes out, she comes up, and it's just a fucking just straight up just beat down, you know what I mean? Like it's fucking Office Space versus the printer, the copy machine. It's fucking
they kick the shit out of her.
It's
Fuck yeah.
It's fucking Death Proof where they beat the shit out of Kurt Russell, you know what I mean? Like it's just it's just beautiful, you know what I mean? They're just literally just stomping on this chick, you know what I mean? And then saying just
like it was a game initiation, like
you know what I mean? Pretty much, just fuck that Nazi bitch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they just say that while they're kicking it, and it just felt so cathartic, you know what I mean? It felt good, it's just like, wow, this is pretty awesome, Nick, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, continue.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
girls get it done.
I mean, yeah, and then it was a perfect line, perfectly said at the right moment by Frenchie. He was like, "Girls really do get it done." I mean, it's true, like.
Yeah. And that's actually a scene in the comics too. That's how Stormfront dies in the comics, where instead of it by the girls, it's by the boys, and they're just stomping him out. So I thought that was just such a good reference that was done so much better.
And they're taking turns, you know what I mean? They're going back and forth, like she getting hit like a pinball machine. Like Kamiko hits her, Stormlight hits her, you know, Queen Maeve hits her, like going just back and forth. You know, it's like damn.
I think she only got one hit off in that whole conference, like that whole part.
I mean, she was taking them L's, boy.
Yeah, she was just catching them hands, left and rights, equal left and rights.
Oh yeah.
And then she just finally has to just fly off,
like a pussy.
Bitch. And because they're, you know, she just finally flies off, and
like all Nazis do.
Yeah. And she catches up with Butcher and Ryan and Becca, who was running, because when Stormfront arrived, she actually, you know, took the car that Mother's Milk, Becca, and Ryan was, because they, like, Butcher was like, hey, I made a deal with Edgar, and for the deal, like, I can get Ryan back, but the deal was I can just, you know, you guys take him and I get to be with you forever, but since I promised you, I'm not doing that anymore. Because you see, like, because he's supposed to use it to track the cell phone. He's like, okay, I'm gonna keep the cell phone on me, and you can track it, and when I get to the location, and I get Ryan, you'll know where I'll be, and you can come get him. Which, I mean, it's poor for the vault, you know, security people, because they show up and they go like, okay, hey, hey Butcher, where you at? And then Homelander shows up. And it's like, oh shit. And it's like, oh damn. Well, hey man, sorry for you. You know what I mean? Like, this is the worst possible shift ever. You know, sucks for you. But you see that when he told Becca that, he was like, okay, you know, I trust Mother's Milk, I trust you. You take her, you take the kid, and you just get out of here. And you know, you get out of here. But Stormfront arrives, takes the car, flips it over, and basically Butcher, Ryan, and Becca, they go running. And when Stormfront, you know, when she was running away from that ass whooping, she catches up with them, and you can see she's just totally bloody and beaten, and she's just, you know, she's trying to ask Ryan to come over here.
Yeah.
And he's like, hell no, I'm not coming with you. like look how you fucking look. Like, just completely scary as hell. And you see, like, you know, Becca trying to protect Ryan. So is the thing with Stormfront, she's not invulnerable, right? Like, her skin is not like invulnerable or anything.
Well, she can regenerate. But things like her eye can get hit, because, you know, eyes are fragile. But also, if she could get punched, like you obviously saw her, if it's a super punch, she can get hit by that. But yeah, that's about it. Like, as you saw, like, Butcher couldn't do anything to her.
Right.
Yeah.
But she could get, like, so she could get, like, stabbed in the eye and stuff like that. Like, that can, like, her skin.
Yeah,
is
because
not,
eyes are, like, fragile.
But I mean, Superman.
Even for soups.
I mean, Superman. If he got shot in the eye, there'd be nothing that happened to him, though. I don't think.
Well, this isn't Superman. We have Homelander.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, Homelander. If he's somebody shot something in his eye, would that hurt him?
That's a good question.
Because
I mean, we'll probably see sooner or later.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so I mean, you see it. She's stabbed in the eye. And she basically, at that point, you know, she is choking Becca out. And as you mentioned, like, Butcher trying to do something about it, he can't do anything about it. I mean, he's hitting her with a crowbar, he's shooting her, the bullets are just bouncing off. I mean, he's hitting her with a crowbar. That's like doing nothing. I mean, she's not even budging with him hitting her with a crowbar. And then Ryan, he just, you know, just pretty much unleashes his Cyclops Omega Beam, you know, Marvel versus Capcom 2 type shit, you know, and turns her basically into Anakin Skywalker at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Stormfront. where she's just legless, she's handless, bald, scorched earth.
Extra crispy.
Yeah,
Yo.
extra crispy. Which I don't know how that beam
he-
missed like Becca, but hit her. I don't know how the beam did that, but okay.
The beam still like ripped through Becca.
Did it? Because I thought it just like sliced her just the one little bit, right?
Yeah, it sliced her. Kind of like how like that one the one kid that Homelander accidentally killed in collateral damage. It was just like a slice rather than like a burn because he wasn't like the main target. He just happened to get cut by it, by the side of it. That's what I'm assuming.
Like how little control Ryan has, because that's the first time he's ever used that power.
True.
So of course he's not gonna have control.
I mean, it makes sense why. I mean, you know, Becca got hit, but I'm just saying, like, if Stormfront looked like that, I mean, why did Becca look like that? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, because you know what I mean? Because I was expecting like when Stormfront looked like that, I was like, oh shit, well Becca must be fucked up too. But it's like, nah, she just got kind of has like, I mean, she bleeds out, but it's like, oh, she just kind of has like just a cut on her neck. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Facts. Yo, Ryan sent her back to the 1930s. She started speaking German.
she started thinking of the motherland again and shit like that. You know? What I mean?
I actually did find out what she was saying.
Oh,
and I'm glad that she said it in German because I'm not trying to feel sorry for her. It was basically about like she was recounting a memory of hanging out with her husband and Chloe, hanging out by that like an apple tree or something like that, and it sounded very sweet, and I was just like, I don't need this from her.
Okay.
I love you, Aya Cash, but I don't need this from you. Not while you're Stormfront.
And after that happened, Homelander comes down, and it's a scene I think that was in the season 2 trailer. It was like a big scene where like he's all bloody flying down, just sees her, and she's just completely just all fucked up. I mean, it's just, completely horrified. And you see like it's just now it's just Butcher and Ryan. And actually a good thing to mention before that scene is like she's bleeding out, and it's a very good scene with Carl Urban, who Carl Urban's also very good in the show too. I think him and Homelander really get a good range of emotions throughout this show, and especially with the boys. I think the boys, it was really more their season. I think season 1 was the soup season. This season I think is really the boys season, that they really shine. And you see he's giving an emotional goodbye to Becca, especially like it's even more emotional because he had thought all this time, for such a long time, that she was dead, only to find her and then to be with her and then break up with her again, and then only for her to come back, and then for him to lose her again is just really heartbreaking. And she says make sure you take care of Ryan and make sure it's not his fault. And so did you think he was gonna kill Ryan before Homelander show up? I mean, that was basically the insinuation there.
I don't know, and that's what I think is like the greatness of the show, because he was looking like he was ready to murder this kid.
It wouldn't be out of character for Homelander to do something like that.
Are you talking about Butcher?
Oh, either or.
True. Like Homelander did look like he was about to murder Ryan for a second there too.
And before Butcher really even gets a chance to do anything, that's when Homelander shows up, and that's when the standoff ensues between them. And before anything happens, Queen Maeve shows up and says like, well, hey, you gotta let them go. You gotta stop chasing Starlight. You gotta let me and Elena do our thing, because the video of them on the airplane letting those people die, that comes back into play here, and says I'll just release it. And she says, he says like, well, I don't care, I'll just kill everybody. She's like, well, okay, I mean, if you do that, you'll lose the one thing that you care about the most, which is everybody loving you and people see you for the monster that you are. And there's a good cue that happens where you hear like these cheers, like he's starting to hear these cheers of people cheering his name, Homelander, as she's like saying that, as she's talking about, which I thought was a good cue, which was really nice touch to things of how much he really does care about that, like that admiration, that love, you know what I mean, like. You know, because he can't have love in his own life. I mean, you saw what happened with Stormfront. I mean, that shit's gone. You know what I mean? Like that shit's literally burnt up. You know what I mean? That shit's gone. That shit's in flames. So, yeah, I mean, the love of the people is all he's got. And so, when you see the kind of the final moments of the episode, you see like Vought does what Vought does best. Where they just basically just leaned into it and turned the story on its head and go like, oh, we were just we were shocked to learn of this story that she was this Nazi and we condemn her actions, and it turns out that she was the person doing all these bad things, and and Starlight is innocent, and Queen Maeve, she's a great asset. They're both great heroes that helped stop the evil Stormfront. I mean, we didn't know anything about it, of course, So that's what, they do best. It was also great to see, like, in that whole kind of press conference scene, like, the camera zooming in on Homelander's eyes, like, this intensity, you know what I mean, this that he has. I mean, I thought almost like he was gonna admit it, like, kind of laser everybody for a second. I mean, as much as they were kind of just zooming in on the eyes there for a second. And you see kind of, it almost feels like a little bit like a series finale, not even like a season finale. And some aspects of the way they kind of give each character their own kind of like goodbye in a way, like Mother's Milk. Now that like the charges have been dropped against them and against the whole boys, like Mother's Milk goes back to his family. You see Kamiko and Frenchie, they go off, you know what I mean? They're just like, hey, whatever the adventure takes us, so they kind of going to do their own thing. You see that Butcher, he just kind of walks away from things, gives Ryan some very, important advice. Just says,
the most important advice of all.
The best advice you could ever give a young man.
Now, remember what I told you.
Don't be a cunt.
You know what I mean? Gives him, delivers him off to the CIA. Gives him some great advice, and also just kind of why they're sitting there together. It's a beautiful looking scene, by the way they shot it. It's a really nice, beautiful looking scene, and the way he's just talking about Becca, and he gives him a very gift that she gave him at one time, Butcher, that he gives to Ryan, and it's a really nice scene, very beautiful scene, well done. And he kind of goes his own way after that, after he hands Ryan off to the CIA. You see Huey now, he's talking to Starlight, and he's kind of like, oh, I just kind of, I also kind of want to move on and kind of, just find my own way. And she thinks like, oh, well, okay, well, I guess this means that we're going to be friends now. He's like, oh, no, fuck no. Oh, hell no, I'm not breaking up with you. No, hell no. I mean, you're probably the hottest chick I've ever been with.
If anything man would do, he's trying to lock that shit down.
Yeah. When I meant not being clingy, I didn't mean not being clingy with you. I mean, I like you. Yeah, I'm sticking with you. I mean, definitely the
hottest. I'm friend-zoning the world, not you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, fuck no. Hell no, I'm not getting rid of that. Like, hell no. Which then, like, when he says that, it does cut to a scene of Butcher. So do you all think that, like, he's just, like, not gonna try to find Butcher later on, or not try to best he can?
Well, with the upcoming villain that he's going to confront sooner or later, I think he's gonna have to go to Butcher, especially since that I think Newman is kind of taking the role of being like their supervisor to some degree, because I think Mallory was talking about how Newman has started like a supervising task force or whatever, and that the boys were being offered that position. I wouldn't be surprised if they came around to it though. There's gonna be something coming on, something that happens.
I think the the way season 3 opens is something so horrible happens that they have no choice but to go back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a good time, I guess, to talk about the big reveal. When Huey's talking about moving on, he gets a job working for the Congressman, Victoria Newman, the AOC stand-in.
Mia Khalifa.
I was so disappointed. I'm like, they ain't doing AOC like this.
If any of you guys played the newest Call of Duty, she was the character Farah.
Oh,
Huh.
okay.
Really?
Yeah, that was her.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I was kind of upset. I was like, man, they doing my girl AOC like this, making her to be like some secret villain or some shit. And it turns out, so one of the big mysteries of the season was like, who the hell is this person exploding? Like all these heads, like who's doing this? So it turns out it was her. It turns out it was the Congresswoman, Victoria Newman. You see a scene where the leader of the Church of Collective, he's trying to open a fresca, and then unbeknownst to him, that'd be his last fresca that he ever drank, because his head just fucking.
Well, he didn't even drink.
I thought he took a sip. He didn't take a sip.
Nah, he just opened it and that shit popped.
Oh yeah. He just opened it and shit popped. Oh.
Yeah.
Fresca fucking sucks anyway. So yeah, I mean, God spared him drinking any more of that. It. Yeah. So you know that it was her. And she's working for Stan Edgar. I would guess is the thing. She's basically with Vought, right?
So reason why I'm making that assumption, because for all we know, she may not be working directly under Edgar. But the reason why I'm making that assumption is because her comic book counterpart is the Vice President Newman, who very directly works for Vought. So, and it seems to be that it makes sense for Vought to have somebody on the inside fighting, quote unquote, against them to keep that accelerated war between both sides so that they can make money.
They're just working on angles, everything.
Yeah. Because if they can control the enemy, then they can control whether or not, the real enemies succeed. Well, I guess maybe the reason why she had to pop his head was because he exposed that information, and that was retaliation.
Well, he didn't. They think that he exposed that information.
Yeah. Well, he inadvertently did, and I think that's why they sent the AOC standing after him.
Right. Yeah, because they think he inadvertently did or had some. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but well, I mean, I guess the leader of the Church of Collective didn't tell them that it was A-Train that did it, because they knew A-Train did it. So they knew that he did it. And that was a good scene too, where they're talking. And then how the Deep, he was like, okay, it's like he was so quick to sell him out. He's like, fuck me and fuck this guy. I didn't know anything about this. Like he was so quick to sell him out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's such a two-faced little bitch.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah. He's like, actually, I think that shows initiative, and I think that is very good. And A-Train, I think, you're good to go back in the 7. He's like, fuck yeah. He's like, this is great. Like, fuck this bullshit. And he just fucking walks out. He's like, man, fuck this shit. And then it's like, I guess nothing happens for the Deep. What do you all think is gonna maybe follow up with the Deep next season? Like, what do you think are some good ways they're gonna take that character from? What do you know knowledge of? Is the same pathway that he has in the show is similar to the pathway he has in the comics?
So in the comics, it's kind of just like pushed aside as a joke, but like he doesn't really have an arc. He doesn't really do much. I think he's the only soup that lives in the comics, to be honest with you. Because that's how unimportant his character is in the comics. So I don't know. We'll see.
What do you think they'll follow up and do with him next season? Like, do you think he'll become the leader of the Church of Collective now that the
hell no. He's like, I think he's the one character I really cannot predict where they'll go with him, because I feel like he's on this very long redemption path that's just going to be played for comic relief. And the ties that he makes throughout it are probably going to be tied to very loosely to the overarching plot, kind of like the way they are in this season.
So what are the expectations you all have for season 3? Chase, what are some theories you got for like what's gonna come up?
So we already know that they're bringing in Soldier Boy, who in the comics is kind of like a Captain America parody. So
is that the person is going to be played by Jensen Ackles?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, it is. Little
Nice.
supernatural reunion with him and Ricky.
It's a shame that they just did Lamplighter like that. I wish that they could have had a scene together. But I think what is going to happen is that they're going to bring in Soldier Boy to replace Stormfront, because it seems like they're kind of focusing on the Seven as the main superhero team rather than branching off like the comics does with Payback, which is the bootleg Avengers and all the other teams. So I think that's the play, and the play is you get Soldier Boy, who is the most patriotic hero of all time, to replace the Nazi. It just makes sense. It's good marketing.
Okay. So he's got pretty much all the same power set as Captain America, pretty much.
Yeah, just a strong soldier.
Okay. What do you know? Like what's his major issue? Like what's fucked up about him?
To my memory, he was kind of just like a Boy Scout. I'm not gonna lie, he's very much on the nose with Captain America.
Okay.
There was a scene with him and Homelander where Homelander has this weird initiation where Soldier Boy sucks his dick, and a few other things. I don't know if they'll do that, but I mean, I guess Homelander is getting a little needy, so that might happen still. But his whole thing is kind of just being like a Boy Scout. Like, he tells people to stop cussing and stuff like that. Like, he's very on the nose. So it'll be interesting to see how his brand, if they do keep that brand of like pure innocent superheroism, and him and Homelander have to butt heads between you know, how Homelander is and how this actually pure hero is, or if they'll just make him darker. Who knows?
Nick, what do you think? What's your expectations for season 3?
I think with bringing in Soldier Boy, you're introducing a character who I think they're gonna play him as, this guy is all the things that Homelander says he is. He's a guy who is like really true, honest, patriotic, and meanwhile Homelander's just faking it for the camera. And I think that's playing more into his insecurities. Just kind of like what they were doing with Stormfront this season.
Okay. All right. So the big storylines coming from this is follow up from the scene with Victoria Newman. See with, like, you know, basically what she does. Like, I guess is she gonna be pretty much the big bad of season 3? You think?
So we know that they're trying to do a coup from the inside, as the late Rayner once said. So I think what she might be there to do is to continue to ascend in power. I can't foresee them pushing her in the VP/president slot so soon, because is she already a congresswoman by the time that? No, she is. She
is in Congress.
Okay, so I feel like there won't be much of a time skip for her to become like a presidential nominee or something like that. So we'll see. It's gonna be fun, but to see Huey and her interact and him slowly discover who she really is.
Okay, yeah, that'd be interesting to see him working with her. to see how they're going to bring all the boys back together again. That'd be very interesting. Soldier Boy, Jason Eccles. Man, every time I say that, I feel like playing Crank That Soldier Boy.
Yeah.
I hope that they somehow work that into a joke next season.
Yeah.
If not, I'm gonna make the video myself. It's gonna be every Soldier Boy scene to Crank That Soldier Boy. It's gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah. So I think it's some good things to follow up for season 3 that I'm interested to see capitalized on. Any final thoughts on the season? How do you think it compares to season 1 now it's all done?
I have to go back and rewatch everything, but I do think I like this season a little bit more. I just appreciate the pacing of it. It's a little bit slower, so you get to get more time with all the characters. And for me, at least, that's what worked for me. You still had your big shocking moments every episode, but there was more character to it than the first season.
Okay. Nick, what about you?
I definitely agree with you, Chase. I feel like this season is on par with, if not even better than the first season. I feel like this season it's getting more into the character development on the actual boys themselves, which I feel like was one of the weaknesses of the first season. Like everyone was like so high on the Soups, and the actual boys, the characters Butcher, Huey, Frenchie, and Mother's Milk, they kind of took a back seat to everything. And here they get a lot more development. I really like the pacing of the show. I really like that I genuinely cannot tell where this show is going, because none of the characters I had in my death pool for this episode, they all made it out alive.
And the character that we swore was going to make it and be a long-lasting impact probably died with Stormfront.
Yeah, so they say that she's just held captive, right? That she's not dead, right? She's just in prison, right?
So
I'd be very surprised if they killed her off this early, because there's still so much you could do. Because they've hinted at, hey, we've rebranded Stormfront before, we can do it again.
Now, what they might do is something that they do in the comics where, certain Soups, they're so pumped with Compound V that they just cannot die. Their brain might be dead, but they're like actual zombies. So they might do something like that. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but we'll see.
Okay.
I don't think she's like consciously alive though.
Right. Because could she regenerate from all those injuries?
Theoretically, but that was a lot. Like, she was in a whole like life flashing moment speaking in German. I feel like consciously she's dead. Okay. And I really don't want like a Darth Stormfront or like a Darth Rage.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I like Aya Cash, but for that character, I don't want that from her.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's always tough to compare seasons sometimes, especially when you just finish one. It's so fresh. So you're going to go with probably the most thing that's most fresh on your mind. So right now, I mean, I would say, I think it's just two different things. Like I said, season 1, I think, was the Soup season. This is just the boy season, I think, more of and more of their exploits and kind of more exploring them as characters. Because season 1 really was just introducing you to this world, right? And really taking you into this and what these characters are like and really showing you, Vought and everything like that. So it's a little bit of a different feeling this season than it is in season 1, so it's a little difficult to compare. There's a lot of more different themes going on in this season than there are in season 1. So it's tough right now for me to say, but I think season 1 was still very, very good, and I liked it a lot. And I very like the last closing shot too, which is a closing shot that they said they wanted to do in season 1, but I think they said it was too dark for them to do in season 1. And it's the
you mean the scene of Homelander pleasuring himself on top of the Empire State Building?
Yeah. And, I mean,
Which, not gonna lie, I would do if I had powers like that.
Yeah, that's like one of the first things you do.
So I mean, because I think they said, I was reading something, they said they wanted to do that in season 1, but they couldn't. They said they couldn't do it, but then I guess they did it here. I guess they got the green light to do it here. So
I kind of like the I kind of like the context of this scene here rather than it being in last season. Because it's like,
I'm trying to think of when they would put that during season 1, and I can't think of anything that adding that scene to it wouldn't have felt out of place.
Yeah.
Because this one, I think it shows him just losing his mind more.
Yeah.
And just going fucking crazy.
Yeah, of course. The girl he really likes is out of the 7. His son's gone. His reputation is being held hostage by Queen Maeve.
Yeah. Like everything, like this was his season to lose, and he lost everything.
Yeah.
And it's so satisfying to see that character lose.
Yeah.
It'd be very interesting to see what the dynamic will be now next season between the Supes. Now that they have this information on Homelander, now they're not going to be as scared of him as they were in the first season.
Yes,
throughout
the
majority
other
of
Supes in the 7 finally hold something over Homelander.
Yeah, so it'd be very interesting to see what they do with that and how that dynamic plays out. Because the one thing he also had was that he was in charge of the 7. He was the main guy, and now they're gonna probably treat him like a bitch. Now, like all that time, all that abuse that they've that he's given them, they're gonna give back to him. So that's a very interesting dynamic. I would really like to see how they follow up with that as well. Now that they see, do you all think also next season, like they're gonna try to reduce Homelander's role in the 7, like Vought making him the face now? They're gonna try to maybe make somebody else the new face, like Soldier Boy, and like that's even gonna make him even more angry. Because now that Homelander got associated with the Nazi, and he was the main one dating her, and they were palling around. They're gonna go like, well, your image is shit, so we're gonna need a new face for the 7. So maybe bringing this new guy. So do you all think that would be probably a big thing?
Yeah, that actually could work. And I feel like...
Oh, sorry. Continue, Chase.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like because if they do keep Soldier Boy comic book accurate, he is everything that Homelander pretends to be. So that might be interesting to see that like reflection of his fake self be an actual genuine human being.
I'd be interested to see that. Any rating for this season?
But before we give our ratings, what were you about to say, Nick?
Yeah, definitely see that dynamic of someone who's genuinely heroic versus someone who fakes it. Will be really interesting next season, and I'm wondering what they're gonna do with Ryan now that he's with Mallory. I wonder how that's gonna play into next season.
Yeah, saving him for the White House.
Yeah, maybe delve into that. Hey, the government is trying to create a force for good, but even their methods are a little fucked up.
Yeah.
So any ratings for it?
10.
10 out of 10.
Perfect motherfucking 10.
I couldn't have written it better myself. 10.
And 10 for you too, Dick.
Oh, fuck yes. This is my absolute favorite show. Well, of the last 10 years at least.
Yeah. It definitely, I mean, it very easily usurped Game of Thrones for me this season.
Especially considering the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But it's just the little things that the writers do to tie everything together. Like even like the Billy Joel references. The reason why, Huey is so in love with Billy Joel, it's because of his mom. Like that's all those little details.
It's why the soundtrack here works, and I feel like they were taking like notes from like the writing of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, yeah, the soundtrack, if you just took it out of context, it's just a cool soundtrack, but it's actually vital to who the character is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like,
a very good point.
There's just so many little details that they put in that just
that
really makes the show great.
Yeah. I give it a 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10.
You a hater. Why are you giving it a 9?
Hater.
And I mean,
traitor.
I can't be with y'all. I can't have the same ratings, y'all. That can't happen.
What was wrong?
Pussy.
I will say that I
nitpick for my flaw. What was wrong?
I had to really dig deep and nitpick for any flaws I had with this show.
I think it's like I said, it's 9 is not a bad rate. 9 is a very good rate.
But it's not 10. That's the problem here.
In comparison to us, we gave it an A+. You gave it an A-.
Yeah. In some households that might not stand well for the kid. Yeah. I hope you know that.
I think you could have did more with Giancarlo Esposito as Edgar.
That's fair.
I thought you could have did a lot more with him. I thought the Victoria Newman reveal. I don't know. I think maybe that I think it was came a little bit out of nowhere. I think you could have maybe teased a little bit things, or maybe added.
Did you rewatch the hearing scene where she's literally looking at everybody whose heads pop?
Also, that's a good point. So I have to go.
Now that you mention it, I did notice that. It was like right before everyone's heads popped, she was looking right at them.
Yeah, and I think the greatest hint that they did, but it was so perfect because I wouldn't have guessed it still, was that she kept going back to the chair and just looking around like yo, what's going on? But she was pretending to be hysterical, but she's actually just popping heads.
Yeah. But also it seems like when she uses her power, like her eyes turn white, like it turns white for a minute. So it seems like her power takes a little minute to activate.
Well, when you look back at that scene in Congress, it was like it was always like shooting her from a distance, so you really wouldn't be able to see something like that.
Yeah, and even the close-ups that they do, it's like quick glance and then pop, quick glance, pop.
Yeah,
quick glances around and then pop.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like obvious enough for it to be like, oh yeah, that's clearly her. But it was just enough for us to be like, oh wow, that when in hindsight, that was 2020.
Yeah. So So not to say I have an issue with them being revealed that she was the person doing it all along. But I thought I was like it could have been maybe a little bit better with that. And so that's not really that's a reason why I'm kind of not gonna give fully 10 with it. But let's say 9 is good, still strong rating. 9 is good.
Well, we'll let it go.
It's a solid rating. We're just giving you shit.
Yeah. I know. No big issue. Yeah.
We're not gonna hold this against you.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I hope you all really had a good time listening to this. To anybody listening to this, hey, you always know what to do. Look, like, subscribe, comment, let us know what we did wrong, let us know what we did right. Constructive criticism is never a bad thing. Social media, check us out. Twitter, The Afternoon Tune. Facebook, The Afternoon Tune. Just everything The Afternoon Tune. If you're listening to this on YouTube, let it be known to you that we are now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Apple Podcasts, don't forget to always review that as well. That also helps it out, boosts us up 5 stars, maybe a review.
5.
Maybe give us a
Give us
review. Review if you all are in the mood to write one. That's also very helpful. So, hey, all those things like that help boost you up. Can't do this without you. All that good people support shit. All that
To quote Homelander, you guys are the real heroes.
Yeah, you guys are the real heroes. You guys get it done. You know what I mean? Chase, what you want to know where people can find you?
You can find me at Mr. Chase Mac at Twitter, Instagram, wherever. It's spelled Mr. MR Chase Chayse, and then Mac MAC. How about you, Nick?
All right, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Night and Day Nick. That's spelled NIGHT, the letter N, DAY, Nick.
All right, awesome. So to all you people out there listening to this, hope you had a great time listening to this. And don't forget to always stay tuned.